Hello Animals fans and welcome back to the Animals universe. We're doing another AniLysis and today it is on Frank's Safariland and Putt-Putt Golf. This comes only in book 23, The Predator. It made a one-time appearance and what an appearance it was. It was alright, it was good fun. It was a bit like Dealing Dan's, except there was a bit more plot involved and it didn't have Dealing Dan charm involved, so we'll go through it. I've designed this sign here and I had a really hard time actually finding something to fit for a picture in the background, but yeah, Frank's Safariland and Putt-Putt Golf is the title of this place. I'm sorry to the place that actually has this sign. It's in no way connected to the fictional place we're talking about today. I just had to find a sign with one of these letter changing things. So, and we'll go into why. So let's first cover the outer appearance of this establishment. It was a shabby looking building from the air. But the truth is, most buildings look pretty bad from the air. You just see roofs and air conditioners. The building itself was one story, but with a false facade that would have made it look much bigger to a person approaching from ground level. It was fronted by a dirt parking lot with a few cars. In the back was a dirty green lagoon, shallow water bordered by a rickety looking wooden railing. There were two alligators sunning themselves on the mud banks of this tiny lagoon. The lot to the left of the building was a liquor store. To the right of the main building, seemingly attached to it, was a miniature golf course. The theme was apparently pirates. A plaster pirate ship served as a centerpiece. "It's one of those crappy roadside zoo things," Rachel reported, having swept low enough to see the garish sign clearly. "It's called Frank's Safariland and Putt-Putt Golf." "Catchy name," I said. Water, blessed, muddy water diluted the acid before it could eat right through my spine. Aria gazed thoughtfully up at the Frank's Safari sign. I banked a turn and went low to check out a sort of marquee that advertised to passing cars. It was one of those signs where they used big plastic letters. The sign said, "All new, deadly midget freak, the living razor." The others morphed to various bird morphs, and we flew to Frank's Safariland. The sign had been changed. It now cried out that Frank's had the first ever actual space alien. It was working. The lot was filled with a dozen cars. "Head for the Putt-Putt pirate ship. We can do more from there. I'll be right along." With that, Rachel swooped down from the sky on a glide path toward the old man, who was sitting on a stool just outside the door to Frank's Safariland. We demorphed inside the dusty, cobwebbed interior of the fake ship and had to squeeze out through a tiny access door. No one stopped us. No one noticed then, or when we walked brazenly through the front door of Frank's Safariland. That's a collection of quotes going over what the outside of this place looks like. We will talk about the inside, the looks of the inside, but I'm going to get my MS Paint up now and we're going to do a diagram of what this stuff has described to us. Let's draw Frank's Safariland from a bird's eye view, from Tobias's view. We've got a single one-story building that is the centre. We'll call it the centre of Frank's Safariland. So that's the main building. It's got an entranceway here. And then it's got a dirt parking lot. So we'll say that covers this area here. A few cars scattered around. So there's a red one, there's a blue one over here. Okay. In the back is a dirt green lagoon. Dirt green, was it? Yeah, in the back is a dirty green lagoon, so we're going to say it's sort of like that, out the back, to make sure that you can see that. Yes, you can. And there are alligators there. Big grumpy alligators, and we'll do... Oh, yes, okay. And they are there. I don't know, what's an alligator look like? Freaking smiley-faced alligator. There, it's got a tail. There's two of that, times two. Two of those... And we did get clarification later on that it is indeed muddy water, so it's a bit yucky. It's actually said to be tiny as well, so can I resize this bit here? I think I can. Yeah, so it's tiny. Not very big for 2 alligators. Let's get that right. We have to be accurate here. The lot to the left of the building was a liquor store. So there's another building here with bottles in it. Liquor store over here. To the right of the main building, seemingly attached to it, was a miniature golf course with a pirate theme. So seemingly attached would imply that maybe there's like a gate here. And then you've got the golf course sort of around this area here. And, you know, there's a clear access point here, or there's an opening here that leads to it. And in the middle of that is a pirate ship. I do love a good... Everyone loves pirates, don't they? There we go. That's a nice pirate ship, isn't it? F's in the chat. Obviously, it's not that big, but that's got an entrance door in it. It's all dusty and horrible on the inside, so it's all a bit worn and bleh. But it has got an entry point which Tobias and Rachel fly into. And then it says they come out of that in human form. They get back into their own bodies. And they head to the front entrance. So I imagine they sort of come around here and go inside. There's a marquee that advertises to parking cars. So let's zoom out of all of this. Now when I think of a marquee, I think of like a tent where you host events and what have you. But anyway, here, oh, for God's sake, here's the road. There's Arthur Road and so parking cars. So they probably come in through a fence, like around here, come into the car park, and I imagine maybe over on the side somewhere is this marquee area with the sign on the thumbnail to this video over here. So when cars come past, they see that sign and in they go. Yes. Let's also give this area a border. So that's a fence, and I'm thinking that's what makes it look like it's all one thing, because the fence is all around this and the alligator lagoon thing. There's no other mention of any other animals outside, by the way. The only other mention of other animals are on the inside, and we will get to that. So as far as we know, there's only the alligator lagoon outside. There's also a stool where an old man is sitting outside the front entrance. Now, a lot of American, from what I've seen, like roadside attractions have like an overhang on the front of the building. And I imagine underneath that is like stools, a couple of stools, and maybe a couple of items on sale. But the old man is sat there, and that's the one that Rachel and Tobias see. Yeah, there you go, right by the entrance. It's where they have like a vending machine as well. Let's draw a lovely little vending machine in here. Why not? Even though you got the liquor store right over here. That's where I am. Me. So that's pretty much all we got regarding the outside, apart from the sign. And just take one last look at that. Admire the beauty of my whatever the hell I've done there. There were mentions of the sign with the plastic letters, and it changes. So at one point it says living freak alien, and then it says real life space alien. And it's one of these things here, which is partly why I chose this particular picture, because it's got one of these things that looks like one of those boards that they change. They have these all over the place in America. We don't really have them here. I have seen a few, but really not as much as I saw when I've been into America. But they'll change these plastic letters, and I should have really done that for this, but what have you. Yeah. Have a Putt-Putt birthday. Open. So that's the sign in front of the marquee, and then behind this, on this side over here, is Frank's Safariland and Putt-Putt Golf. So that is the exterior covered. Let's talk interior. What does the inside of this place look like? Inside, it was about what I'd expected. A very sad place. Miserable, unhappy animals in cages a tenth the size they should have been. Dim lighting that was swallowed up by the black draped walls. A mangy fox paced restlessly. A pair of lynx slept, crammed into a cage that would have been too small for a house cat. There was an aged barn owl, an adolescent deer, a pair of sheep. There was a Shetland pony in a circular pen, saddle on its back, saddle sores plainly visible. A sign said, "Pony rides, $2.50. A small female black bear was in a cage so low she could not rear up to her full height. Then we went around a dark corner into a small side room. There stood Arya and a man. I backed away quickly, but not so quickly that I failed to see the occupant of that small room. There, in a raised cage with two spotlights intersecting on him, was a young Hawk-Bajir. And now there were more creatures, the lynx loose from its cage, a tiger roaring, rushing, slashing. I followed gingerly in Rachel's wake. She was busily tossing her trunk up and down, making the low ceiling jump with each impact. I'm not going to draw diagrams from the inside because you get a very limited picture, and it's so limited I don't think there's much point, because all we really know about is there's one main room where all these animals are. So you've got a black bear, lynx, deer, Shetland pony, and they're all in various different enclosures. So the Shetland pony is probably in like a central part of the room because it's got a circular ring. So that would sort of imply that it's in the middle of the room somewhere, and all the rest are probably around the side. And then there's a side room. So there are side rooms to this bit where there's Beck, the Hawk-Bajir, in a cage, and there's spotlights on him. Spotlights being there implies that this is actually an exhibit room rather than just a storage room on the side. So the layout of this place to me looks like there's that main room with a lot of animals, and then there's rooms coming off at the side for various bits, including like special one-off exhibits or something along those lines. But the worst part about this place, apart from purported animal cruelty, of course, the worst aesthetic thing about this place, in terms of decor, is black draped walls. That just... Who designed that place? Who goes to an animal park place with these sorts of animals in it and has black walls? If you're in like a reptile house, for example, then yeah, black walls sort of understandable. But Shetland pony, lynx, deer, maybe the barn owl, to be fair. No, not even the barn owl. Why would you have black walls? That means that it just sounds like a really oppressive room. And yeah, it is. Okay, fair enough. But that's not probably what Frank wants to get from this aesthetic, is it? Frank, come on, sort your design out, man. Put some mahogany or magnolia. So in my mind's eye, it's just this sort of almost like a converted barn size room. So quite big. Even though I think Tobias said it was small. Okay, so let's go back to exterior. It was one story, but Tobias said that there was a facade that made it look bigger to a person approaching from the ground level. That doesn't sound like it's talking about like width or length, it's talking about height. So it's almost like the front of the building makes it look like it's taller, like there's more stories to it. And it's probably a picture of Frank. Or maybe the alligators, because we've got alligators outside, or tigers, or whatever, or a bear. That's probably at the front. Like on this, you just see a big bear thing over here. But the animals don't mention it, so it can't have been that impressive. There you go. Not like some of the things you see in these roadside attractions. I clicked on Google, just put in roadside attraction USA. Christ, some of the roadside attractions look amazing. They look incredible. But Frank's Safari Land apparently doesn't look very impressive. Outside or in. It's also mentioned in my quotes previously that there is a low ceiling. So as much as you might have this long or wide room, it barely fits an elephant, which isn't that small. In fact, it's not very small at all, so yeah, it's not a very low ceiling if an elephant fits through. Elephants are quite tall. Not sure if you noticed. But hey, this is Tobias. His perspective is probably skewed. So what is the relevance of Frank's Safari Land and Putt-Putt Golf? We've talked about what the place looks like, what's in it, what's around it, yada yada yada. But why is it in the animals books? We've sort of alluded to it already. Beck the young Hawk-Bajir. In book 23, he goes missing. And he turns up here. I'm not going to go into specifics about characters here. So obviously you've got Arya / Vita 3, who's involved in this plotline. You've got Frank himself, who doesn't make much of an appearance. We're not going to talk about him until we get to his analysis. And you've got Beck, of course, who will have his own analysis. So we're just talking about the location. What happens with the location? It gets destroyed. You might have seen in the thumbnail, it's a picture of this sign in front of a burning building. Let's look at the main plot points. Okay, Jake whispered. One more time. I go inhuman and turn off the main power switch so we have darkness. Rachel morphs, and as soon as the power goes out, she goes in and removes the back wall. Tobias, you stay here in the dark till Rachel says go. Then you run in, snatch the kid, and run back out. Castle will be ready to take him after that. We get him a quarter mile down the back road to the cornfield. All clear? There was an important little bit here about a cornfield being about a quarter mile back. So, and it's definitely from the back door because Rachel's opened up this wall. And then Tobias goes in and then goes back out that direction. So Tobias goes that way, quarter mile to a cornfield that's out back here. Yeah, that. Cornfield, okay? So just adding a bit more to the location here. That is the basic plan. We also get an indication there that there's a single mains power switch in this building. That the animals apparently know where it is. I don't know how. I don't know how they unless, well, Tobias and Rachel had been there inside there before, and it wasn't mentioned that one of them saw it, but probably behind it's implied that, oh look, there's the main power switch for the building. How they would know and why it would just be there. Surely that's not a great idea for a business, is to have the power switch just there. Oh look, just here's the entrance, here's the reception, here's the main power switch, free for anyone to play with. No, but that's just plot convenience probably. But anyway, the animals are behind the lagoon. They're up here. And they're going to go into the building, get back, go back out to that cornfield. Okay, after hitting that main switch, which is apparently so obvious. What else happens? Rachel trumpeted and took off around the perimeter of the Alligator Lagoon, heading for Frank's Safari Land. It's the dark, so I don't think they're actually in the pirate ship this time around. Rachel and Tobias were earlier, but that's because it was during the daytime. I think this time they've gone around the back of the Alligator Lagoon thing, and they're going to come round. So let's get this thing up again. For this nighttime mission, the Animorphs are positioned here, behind the Alligator Lagoon, so they're not directly seen from the building, and they can see what's going on behind them. They're directly in the middle of this path they're going to take, so they're going to come around here, snatch the kid, come back, and then off they go. That's the Animorphs' plan. We rushed at the closest wall. Rachel came to a stop and carefully pressed the flat front of her wrecking ball head against it. She leaned her weight forward and we both heard a creaking sound. She cackled. Just wood. Doesn't this little piggy know he should build his house out of brick? Come out, little piggy, or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll crush this dump like a matchbox. Wham! Crack! Crunch! Woomph! The wall fell in. Unfortunately for the Animorphs, as per usual, things don't go particularly smoothly, and the Yeerks arrive at basically the same time. A fight ensues, and these quotes describe basically what happens. The attack was reckless, desperate, heedless, bullets flying, Dracon beams burning holes in cages and walls, flames rising around me, smoke. And now there were more creatures, the lynx loose from its cage, a tiger roaring, rushing, slashing. The ceiling was sloping down in places where it had almost fallen. Walls were twisted, cages were strewn here and there, animals screamed, human voices shouted. The Yeerks are bailing, so are we. There's cops and fire engines and paramedics coming. We're out of here. The place has been set on fire by the Dracon beams. Cages with all these animals in have been bust open and what have you. Probably not all of them, sadly. Actually, genuinely sadly. If this burns down as it's effectively implied, not totally implied, but it's almost like you assume that this place has burned down because it's an old building, it's quite small, a fire has started, there's smoke, and everything's going to toss, really. So you'd assume that this place is burned down. And as much as the Animorphs, and especially Rachel, was saying, let's crush this place, let's take it down, you know, animals might have been lost in that, so not great. But that is effectively Frank's Safariland and Putt-Putt Golf done and dusted. Quite literally done and reduced to dust, more than likely. Is it a shame? Well, we get into all these talks about, you know, the American dream. You know, small business owners really aren't given many places to shine in Animorphs. And it highlights a bit of hypocrisy, really, because if you look at like Rachel's reaction to the animals in these awful small cages in Frank's Safariland, but then you look at, for example, the gardens where Cassie's mother works, and they have dolphins, which are, the series says, sentient and very incredibly smart creatures, in an enclosure. And if you go online and you look up, oh, should dolphins be in enclosures? Most animal rights groups would be like, nah, dolphins should not be in enclosures, or whales, or whatever. I mean, look at Free Willy. Christ, I haven't seen that film for many years, but I might be getting it wrong, but he was in an enclosure, and the whole purpose of it was he didn't want to be there because he was an intelligent creature, and he got freed at the end. It's been probably about at least 20 years since I've seen that film, so if I'm getting it wrong, please do forgive me. But, I mean, it's a young adult's book, and a lot of roadside zoos probably do fall below the standard of proper animal welfare, which is very sad. But not all of them. I imagine there's quite a lot of roadside zoos that adhere to decent animal welfare standards. But there's that, and Frank's Safariland is a fictional one that doesn't. So I'm pretty fine with it being here. It shows off a bit of that Animorphs hypocrisy, but even the Animorphs book series acknowledges that there's hypocrisy in the Animorphs team, so it's cool. Also shows off Rachel's bullish side, which gets much stronger and stronger as the series goes on, so yeah, that's fine. One of the big positives about Frank's Safariland is this. It's $2 each, I said. Are you seriously kidding me? What? This place has got alligators, it's got mini golf, it's got a pony, a deer, owl, and you're charging $2.50. And I checked actually I adjusted for inflation, and it comes to $3.50 or something like close to $4, which in British money is probably about £3. That's well cheap. That's like half a pint to go see all these animals. Frank, you're a smart businessman. As long as you don't charge extra for the Putt-Putt golf, because I know you charge extra for the pony ride. I'm not interested in that. I want to play golf, see the alligators, and hoot at the owl. There was an owl at Dartmoor Zoo called Totem, and he always used to hoot back at you. It was brilliant. You just go, woo, and he go, woo, straight back at you. Totem, quality bird. Certainly better than most birds you get in Plymouth. It was, I think someone told me the other day it was voted the ugliest town in Europe, or ugliest city in Europe. I'm not going to disagree. I will say though, Frank mistreated his animals. Maybe you didn't deserve your entire building to come down, but there is a level of karma there. So that's that. And who invented animal rights? Well, funnily enough, it was the frickin' Brits. Of course it was. It's always us. We invented the first official animal rights organisation. We did it. The Brits. You Americans were slow to it. We also were the first to officially, formally abolish slavery, which is a big thing, Animorphs. We did it first, right? Us British people. You Americans all, oh, let's play some basketball. No, we did all the good stuff first. Just remember that. And you remember that, Frank. That's Frank's Safariland and Putt-Putt Golf covered. We will get into more of the details when we come to individual actors within this location, but we're just covering the location today, what it looks like and how it was sort of utilised. Okay? Next up is going to be AniLysis number 50. I can't believe we're now approaching the 50th episode. It doesn't feel like I've done 50, but I have. And it's obviously got to be a big one, and it is. The next AniLysis, number 50, is going to be on Kayak. So tune in for that one. I'm going to start my research very soon, and hopefully I'll get it up the week after this one, but if there's a lot of research needs doing, it might take a little bit longer. Tune in for that one. Remember to join as a member of this channel to get videos early. That's what I'm deciding is happening now, because I tend to upload videos like a week in advance. You'll get early access to videos, as well as other perks that come along. And you also just get to support me in what I do. Thank you very much for watching. I shall see you somewhere else in the Animorphs universe. Ta-ra!